welcome back to Idaho Hook and Hunt. Today I decided that what I wanted to do is go over my boat and how I set my boat up, because there were some definite challenges that I faced when I decided to start kokanee fishing, and I wanted to set my boat up to be able to kokanee fish. So I'm going to go through some of that with you today, as well as I do have a subscriber that wanted to know, had a question about using gas versus electric motors for trolling for kokanee, so I'm going to address that as well in this video. To begin with, we'll start here at the back corner of the boat. So I have my boat set up actually with 3 different downriggers. When I first got my boat, you can see that this is it's a flat bottom sled style of boat, and it has a rail, but it's actually rounded, which makes mounting downriggers a little more difficult. So when I first started fishing on my boat, all I had was these back triangular metal plates here to mount downriggers on. So when I first started fishing off my boat, I had 2 downriggers at each of the corners facing out, and it worked, but it was kind of difficult because when I'm sitting in the back and steering the boat, I always had to be turning around to look backwards, craning my neck around to see the rods that were in the downriggers. So at this point I do have 3 downriggers on my boat. I did keep one of these small ones, just one of my original downriggers, but as you can see, I've got it facing straight backwards. This is just a 3rd downrigger that I have on my boat, so I have an option of using 3 if I want to. This is one of the little Canon easy trolls. So good little downrigger. I rigged that one with a 6-pound ball, which I don't have on there right now. Actually, I think it's a 4-pound ball that I use on this one, because this one never goes as deep as my other downriggers. And then coming around the boat here, this is the motor that I use for trolling. This is a little Honda 2.3 horse kicker motor. There's a very little motor, but I actually love this little motor. I put this on probably 4 years ago. This motor is not designed with any place to be able to plumb it to my large gas tank. It only has the tank that's right here on the top. This little tank only holds 0.29 gallons, so less than 1/3 of a gallon. But since I've had this motor, this little tank on top with 0.29 gallons actually run. It'll push this boat around at 1.2 to 1.5 for 3 to 4 hours on that 0.29 gallons. I just keep a small gas can, which you see right there. It's a little 1.25 gallon gas can. I can run several days on that little gas can combined with this motor, because it just sips gas. It uses very, very little gas. Now you can see I also have an extension handle on this motor because it is not plumbed into the steering on my bigger motor. And so to steer this boat, I just sit right here at the back. This is what I call my captain's chair. I sit there and I steer using the tiller to steer this boat. And actually, it's pretty comfortable. I actually enjoy the captain's chair. It's fairly comfortable sitting back there steering the boat. But what's nice is the way I've got my boat set up at this point. All my rods are forward of me, with the exception of a rod that may be in that back downrigger back there. And so I don't have to be craned around to see my rods. I can see all of them while I'm sitting there steering the boat. And it actually has worked out pretty nicely. I also do most of the netting from this chair in the back. Now, as you can see, I also do have a couple of rod holders back here in the back. Those are just accessory rod holders that I can use if I want to do a long line out the back. You will see as we go through this boat, I have a lot of rod holders on here. I think I have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different rod holders on here. Now, I never run 9 rods, but I have 9 different locations that I can attach a rod to in this boat when I'm trolling. Moving forward here, this is the rod holder I use for my net. You can see I do have the Ego extendable net. I will talk about these nets in another video coming up here. These nets are excellent. I love the rubber netting. I love how they extend. They're excellent boat nets for trolling for kokanee, because they give you the ability to really reach out and get those fish out away from the boat. As we move forward here, I use these Scotty Orca rod holders. I went to these last year. I really like them because they lock. They lock down on that rod. They hold it very securely. Another thing that I really like is down here, if you look on the inside, they have this little button here. To be able to release the holder out of the base, you have to actually push that button. So these are not going to accidentally pop loose on me and come flying off of the rod holder, or out of the base and end up at the bottom of the lake. Now, this boat also does have a track system on the inside right here, this aluminum track. And I found these mounts I found them, I believe, on Amazon. They're by Brocraft. They are fairly expensive, but it's nice because I can put these rod holders anywhere up and down this rail, all the way from the front of the boat to the back. Put them anywhere I want to. So if I'm fishing alone in this boat, which I don't do very often, but if I am, I can place the rod holders all the way back here near my captain's seat. And so I can have them right there within reach. I don't have to go all the way to the front of the boat to get to them. So moving forward here, I've got a second rod holder on this side. My cooler sits right up there against the front gunnel there. And I put this flooring on the top of the cooler to match the deck of the boat as well. I don't remember who makes it. It's the EVA foam flooring. It's great for the boat. It keeps you from burning your feet on the aluminum. And it's kind of soft. It's kind of squishy too, so it's nice on the feet. And then up here we get to one of my front downriggers. Now these are the Canon. This is the Unitrol 10. So this is the extendable downrigger. I wanted the extendable just to be able to get everything away from the boat. It gives me more ability to just fish more rods if I can extend it out away from the boat. Now that being said, I do not always extend it. You'll find as you're watching my videos that half the time it's not extended because I don't necessarily have to. But if I'm running a lot of rods on downriggers, it is kind of nice to get it out away from the boat, just to give me some space, especially on this side, because I do have that kicker motor right there, and I don't want the line going under the boat and catching in my prop from my kicker motor. Now, one other thing I wanted to point out here up front. I told you at the beginning that I had a really hard time figuring out how to get my downriggers mounted on this boat because this rail is kind of rounded here. It's not flat. And downriggers put a lot of pressure, especially when you got a 8 or a 10 pound ball out there. They put a lot of outward pressure. And so what I did is I had my father-in-law who welds aluminum weld these brackets, which are bolted down on the inside, and then they just sit against the rail out here. And so any pressure is always pushing out on the rail. And this has worked great for the past 4 or 5 years that I've had these here. I don't worry about losing the downrigger or having it break loose on me. They're bolted down real securely to this aluminum bracket right here. It's worked exceptionally well. And then in the center, I'll go around here. Then in the center of the boat, you see my planer board mast, which I've already talked about. I'm sure I'm going to talk about it again in an upcoming video here, because on the first one when I showed it, it was pretty rainy and windy, and I know that the audio quality was kind of poor, so I'm going to redo that video, show it to you again in more detail and how I rig it, how I set it up, along with the planer boards. You can see them on the right and the left here. Those are the planer boards that I run off of that. Coming around the boat, we have the other downrigger on this side. Once again, I already mentioned this in a previous video, but something that I always do is I run my downrigger clip on a stacker clip above the ball, because something that I started doing several years ago is I started running a set of trolls off of my ball, because what I found is that if I run a set of trolls off of my ball, it creates some added flash, added attraction down there under the water, and it looks more like a school of fish down there. And I found when I started doing this that I had a lot of fish chasing my ball. So that's on the video that it's titled, if there's any of my videos that you if you don't watch any of my other videos, watch this one. It's because I talk about this and what it's done as far as what I see on my fish finder, the number of fish that I have following. This is what allowed me to take video of my gear underwater as well and be able to see the fish responding to my tackle. So I highly recommend using trolls on the back of your ball and then putting your gear above it on a stacker clip. All right, so coming back down here, it's the same on this side. I've got the two rod holders over here. Those are again both the Scotty Orca rod holders, which I really like, mounted on those Brocraft track mounts there. Now the other thing that I said I was going to talk about, we're going to come back to the motor again back here. As you saw, I run a gas kicker motor back here. You did not see an electric trolling motor up on the front of the boat. So I had a subscriber that asked, which is better, a gas kicker motor or an electric trolling motor? Well, the truth is, best is probably both. Let me explain what I mean by that. When I first bought this boat, it did have an electric trolling motor on the front, but it was a pedal drive, or a pedal steer, made for kind of bass fishing, standing up on the bow and driving the boat around. And I did use it a little bit for kokanee fishing that first year that I had the boat. But what I found with using that is it drained battery really fast. Now it's just a standard battery that I had in here. It wasn't a lithium ion battery or anything of that sort. But I found that at trolling speeds, pulling this boat around just on that little electric trolling motor, it drained the battery really fast. So I had to worry about time that I had to fish, because it would kill my battery. And so a few years ago, I went to this little 2.3 horse Honda, and I found that it's great because I don't have to worry about battery. I just keep gas in it, and it keeps me going all day long. Now, I said what's best is probably both. What I mean by that is you will see a lot of guys out there that have a gas kicker on the back of the boat, and they use that to push the boat around, but then they also have an electric on the front, and they will use that electric on the front for steering. They'll use an electric trolling motor that has the ability to work on a remote or be programmed into the fish finder, and so it coordinates with the fish finder, and it steers for them so that you don't have to worry so much about steering the boat. I think that is probably the best way to do it. You can see I have not done that on my boat, but not because I don't think it's a good way to go. I haven't done that on my boat only because it's pretty expensive. Getting a trolling motor, mounted on the front with a remote, you're looking at a couple $1,000s to do that. And it's probably something that I will do at some point, but for the time being, my little gas kicker motor is working great for me. I have no regrets about going that route, but ideally I would recommend using both if that's something that's within your financial abilities to do. Most of the guys that you see out there on larger jet boats with canopies especially, that's a great way to go, because that motor up front doing the steering will help a lot when it's on a windier day and that canopy acts like a sail and it's wanting to push the boat around. Now this little boat, because it doesn't have a canopy, it's not as big of an issue. It doesn't blow in the wind quite as bad as a larger jet boat does, but windy days it is certainly a little harder to control because all your power is at the back and there's nothing at the front keeping it straight. Having an electric trolling motor at the front doing the steering helps a lot to keep that bow under control in the wind. So that is what I would recommend, is going both. I would not necessarily recommend doing just the electric, only because you do have to worry about battery power. And if you've got an extended trip and you drain your battery, or if you get to get it fully charged, you're going to be out of luck for keeping your trolling speeds if you don't have battery power to do it with. And so I prefer just having a little gas can running on the gas kicker motor, and I don't have to worry about draining a battery that way. So that's my take on it. I'd love to hear your thoughts, what you think on that. Please, let me know in the comments. Just a couple other things about the comments and about the description on this video. I will put the link for Kokobo Tackle in the description, as well as for Idaho Rod and Reel, and also for Mama Hog Rods, as well as the discount code for Mama Hog Rods, which is Hook and Hunt. So if any of you are interested in that Mama Hog rod, you get a nice discount on that. Again, any questions, feel free to ask those in the comments, and I will see you on the next one. Thanks for watching Idaho Hook and Hunt.